So after watching those videos, and I know that that was kind of a lot, and I hope that you did watch them. I'm sure that maybe some of you skipped around. But if you did skip around, please go back and please do watch the video about bad faith because that will come into play here, and also just kind of the way that Sartre thinks about freedom and responsibility. Because that's going to be the framework that I'm going to use in thinking about and asking some of these questions as it relates to kind of our topic at hand with alcohol. Okay. So in thinking about, the nature of like responsibility and the Oxford Dictionary definition of responsibility is the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone. Okay. The state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone. And then another definition is the state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. Okay? And I'm going to use that second definition a little bit more of the state or the fact of being accountable or to blame for something. Now, when we think about the consumption of alcohol, right? And Sartre is going to be our background, so I'm going to return to that here in a little bit. But when we think about like the nature of alcohol, and we have this sometimes mental move where we say, well, it wasn't me, it was the booze, right? And we can even think back to our discussion, when we read that piece earlier on in the semester where, are you controlling the wine or is the wine controlling you? Are you controlling the booze or is the booze controlling you? And thinking about that again, kind of in this like this scope of responsibility here. And kind of like thinking about that in terms of the fact that we do try or we do often maybe like deny responsibility when we consume alcohol, right? Because, oh, we were just drunk. But Sartre would say not so fast here, right? And this is where I think that there is this really important move that Sartre makes that we have to recognize that if everything is a choice, okay, if everything is a choice, then that also means that first drink, right? Coffee, by the way. But that first drink is still a choice, okay? And so this is where it becomes really difficult in I would say party culture. This becomes really difficult in peer culture where so many around you potentially are drinking and they say, oh, Bryce, just have one more. Hey, Bryce, do you want this drink? Or, hey, we're all doing this shot, right? And it may feel really pressured. It may feel really kind of, pressured to partake. But ultimately, right, you still have a choice. At the end of the day, you still have a choice. Or if you're at a work function and everybody, is pouring a beer, pouring wine, and they say, hey, Bryce, you want this glass of wine? You're like, no, I'm not feeling it tonight. Like, that's your choice, and maybe that's ridiculed. Maybe it's looked at a little bit, strangely. Maybe they kind of question why. But still, you have that choice. And this is where I think Sartre is really powerful. Where when we think about the nature of choice and when we think about the nature of when we think about the nature of choice in this context with the consumption of alcohol, right? I mean, yes, there's so many different perhaps examples. There's so many different scenarios by which you might not feel like you have the choice, or you might not feel, or it's confusing to make the right choice because socially, culturally, religiously, perhaps, right? Maybe there's a lot of pressure to behave a particular way. But Sartre's kind of continuous point throughout his philosophy here is that we have the freedom to choose. And even when that choice might be unpopular, even when that choice might kind of lead to ridicule, even when that choice might, ostracize us, we still have that choice. Conversely, right, we have the choice that after two drinks, and this is where I think it gets way more complicated, like how much choice do we have? How much agency do we have when we've initially chosen to begin drinking in the first place? Okay, and that's going to be kind of the next subject plus some other questions here for this second video or for the next video after this.